Welcome to Middleway News. We provide the latest news highlights and summaries each day to give you a quick snapshot of what's happening today and why. Here is the latest news and breaking news for the US and the world today.
Here's the Middleway News Summary from Wednesday, April 24th to Friday, April 26th, 2024. Tesla is accelerating its rollout of more affordable EVs as profit drops sharply. Major U.S. stock indexes increased, with the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Dow gaining respective percentages. GM lifted its profit outlook for the year as it reported a significant rise in first-quarter earnings. The FTC banned employers from using non-compete contracts to prevent workers from joining rival firms. IBM is nearing an acquisition of cloud software provider HashiCorp. AI companies agreed to incorporate new measures to protect children. Country singer-songwriter Miranda Lambert announced a partnership with Universal Music Group's Republic Records. Tabloid publisher David Pecker testified about his deal with Trump and Cohen to bury politically harmful stories. The Senate passed a long-delayed $95.3 billion foreign aid package to Ukraine and Israel and is forcing the sale of Chinese-controlled TikTok in the U.S. The U.S. is drafting sanctions that could cut off Chinese banks for their role in supporting Russia's military. Fighting between Israel and Hamas intensified in northern Gaza. Colombia's president faced discontent as the university grapples with protests over the Israel-Hamas war, prompting switching to hybrid classes for the semester. BHP has offered to buy Anglo American, a longtime rival with a market capitalization of about $35 billion, in a potential mega-deal that could reshape the global mining industry. Top business groups and a national tax services firm filed lawsuits challenging a new FTC ban on non-compete agreements, cases that will test the agency's power to broadly prohibit practices it says are anti-competitive. Blackstone struck a deal to acquire restaurant franchisor Tropical Smoothie Cafe from Levine Lightman Capital for nearly $2 billion, including debt. Meta Platforms reported record first-quarter revenue as the company's advertising business grew at a rapid clip, even as investors soured on forecasts of rising costs related to artificial intelligence. U.S. stocks ended mixed, with the S&P 500 eking out a gain of less than 0.1% and the NASDAQ rising 0.1%. The Dow declined 0.1%. Hong Kong's stock exchange operator reported lower net profit for the second straight quarter, with poor market sentiment cutting further into trading and listing activity. The Justice Department is conducting a criminal investigation into McKinsey related to its past role in advising some of the largest U.S. opioid manufacturers on how to boost sales. Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows were indicted, along with 16 others in Arizona, for their alleged efforts to overturn Trump's November 2020 election defeat in the state. Ukraine used longer-range ATACMS missiles secretly provided by the U.S. against Russian forces east of Berdyansk shortly before Biden signed a law that includes money for more of those weapons. The U.S. fertility rate fell to 1.62 births per woman in 2023, a 2% decline from a year earlier, and the lowest rate since the government began tracking it in the 1930s. The Supreme Court struggled with the consequences of its 2022 decision ending the nationwide right to abortion in a case pitting the health of women suffering medical emergencies against a state law that bans the procedure. Arizona's State House voted to repeal a near-total abortion ban that has become a hot-button political issue in the state and the nation. Pro-Palestinian students at Columbia agreed to start breaking down their encampment after the university extended a deadline for them to leave and wind down the protests. The U.S. economy grew at a slower pace in the first quarter, and inflation topped Wall Street's expectations, triggering a downturn in the stock and bond markets. Google's parent and Microsoft posted significant profit jumps thanks to high performance in AI. The NBA is leaning towards major media deals, with Amazon and Google's YouTube contending for a new streaming package. Unilever upheld its full-year guidance after reporting higher-than-expected revenue for the first quarter. Hipgnosis agreed to an improved $1.51 billion takeover by Apollo-backed music company Concord. Anglo American is contemplating selling its De Beers Diamond unit. the federal government approved Micron Technology's $6.1 billion proposal to construct 2 chip-making facilities. The Supreme Court seems open to granting some immunity to protect former presidents from being prosecuted for alleged crimes committed during their term. New York's highest court overruled Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction. Senate Minority Leader McConnell advocates for increasing U.S. military spending to counter challenges from China, Russia, and Iran. Polish President Duda stated that since 2022, some Russian missiles fired at Ukraine have crossed into Poland's airspace. European lawmakers demand for the immediate release of political prisoners in Russia, including a Wall Street Journal reporter. The Biden administration implemented stringent rules on power plant pollution, indirectly forcing many coal plants to close due to expensive upgrades. The Biden administration concentrates on approving big power grid projects to accelerate upgrades and cater to the influx of new clean energy projects. U.S. troops started building a floating pier off the Gaza coast, initiating new avenues for delivering humanitarian aid to the region.
Thank you for watching the Middleway News Daily Update.
Thank you for experiencing today's Middleway News Daily Update. We hope you enjoyed today's top news highlights and summaries. Be sure to check out our other Middleway News services, products, summaries, updates, videos, podcasts, and more.